We're gonna talk about how I went from this to this, but you know what? This is not one of those 30-day or even like 2-year transformations. We're talking the full fitness journey. I haven't shared this in a long time, and I thought it would be helpful for some of you to hear it again or maybe hear it for the first time, because I have been where a lot of you are right now, and I think it's so crucial to show these longer transformations of all the different phases of my journey, because they all matter for how I got to where I am today. So we're time traveling back to like 2012, I guess we'll start. Gosh, that's so long ago. 12 years ago. I'm old, but I feel my best, so it's okay. 12 years ago, I taught group fitness classes. I started teaching under my mom, who is also a personal trainer. She still teaches group fitness. She does Pilates and everything through Zoom. She's awesome. She's basically why I am where I am today, why I'm in the fitness industry today, because I grew up in the gym. I grew up in the babysitting room of the gym, but also she was never hesitant to bring me out to work out with her or let me take her Pilates classes. So I'm so grateful for my upbringing in fitness and in health, and as a kid with parents who really did their best to instill good habits into us. I started teaching fitness classes. I got my group fitness certification when I went to college. That was my first real job in college, was teaching group fitness, working in the gym on campus at the front desk, and that's really where it all started. So I got to the point while doing that where I was teaching like, I don't know, 10 classes a week, all cardio based. They were using very light weights. It was nothing crazy. I think the heaviest dumbbells I used when I taught those classes was maybe 10 pounds, 12 pounds. So nothing crazy, but it was all cardio based. It was fun. It got me into fitness, and I don't resent that at all. And while I was in college, I really started to take up and take a liking to running. I would run all over campus. We lived off campus. I would run to class sometimes. This was kind of like my cardio era. So I was just super into sweating, doing cardio, doing all the jumping and the squats and all that. And then I trained for my first, it was a 20K. I just really fell in love with running. I grew up as a dancer. I didn't play sports growing up. Dance is a sport, but like, you know what I mean. So running was really the first sport and like really time that I pushed myself to do something that I did not think I could do when I started. And to this day, I still love running, but you know, at that time it was running, trying to eat clean during the week, but also binge drinking and stuffing my face with random college things on the weekends. It was just not a healthy balance. I was probably eating anywhere from 1,000 to no more than 1,300 calories during the week, which is so low for all of the activity that I was doing especially. And then on the weekends, like I said, binge drinking, just went crazy with the food, did not consume any, had no idea how much protein I was consuming, but it was not a lot. And yeah, it was just not a good mix that left me feeling good, but I was so young at the time that it probably just didn't really matter. I did a couple more half marathons from that point. This was like my last year of college here. So I did the New York City half marathon, I did the Hartford half marathon, and I just really fell in love with running, but it just was not a healthy balance. I was not eating enough. I just didn't know enough about nutrition at that point. I was finishing my exercise science degree and just kind of just doing all the things. That was like circa 2012 through early 2014. I guess 2013. The end of 2013, I remember scrolling through Pinterest, and this is when Pinterest was super popular for like fitness stuff. And I was scrolling and I was looking at all of these girls. Like I remember seeing Natalia Mello, who was like a bodybuilding bikini athlete at the time. And then I remember seeing like some of the very early CrossFit girls like Andrea Ager. I remember seeing them on Pinterest and I was like, whoa, like they look awesome. They're super toned. They have amazing bodies. They're ripped. Like, I want to look like that. So I decided to do a bikini competition with no coach and with really no experience in the bodybuilding world. So one of my friends at the time was doing it, and she kind of took me under her wing. And, you know, I went to a bodybuilding style gym that my mom used to work at. So I literally grew up in this gym, got a membership back at this gym in my hometown-ish, and just started training for a bodybuilding competition while I was still training for a couple half marathons. So this was like my running era bleeding into my bodybuilding era, but still kind of half in my running era, which looking back was probably not the most smart idea, but I did it. So I'm training for this bodybuilding show. I'm eating super clean. This is the first length of time where I stopped drinking alcohol throughout my college experience. So I completely stopped alcohol. I was eating super clean. Again, still only eating probably 1,200 calories per day because I thought that's what you had to do. I would pack all of my food for all of my classes. I had this huge, they were called 6-pack bag, and I would pack all of my food for the whole entire day on campus, and I would drive home, go to the gym, do my bodybuilding workout at the end of the day before coming home. I was still living with my parents. So I would bring like Tupperware of broccoli and chicken to my classes, and like hard-boiled eggs, like almonds. Like, we just went off the bodybuilding deep end. And I was following like a very loose meal plan from one of these guys at the gym, and it just was chaotic, if I'm being honest, to look back on it. But you know, I had that mindset of, okay, I need to eat clean, I need to lift weights, and I need to do excessive cardio. To the general public, maybe to you watching, you're like, okay, what's wrong with that? But there's a lot of things wrong with how I did it. And I, again, was not eating enough food. I was not following a training program, any kind of progressive overload or anything. But I was a new lifter, right? So there's a difference there because I was a newbie lifter. I was experiencing newbie gains. So basically I could do pretty much anything, and it was going to result in some muscle growth, even if I was training for a half marathon at the same time. I did my half marathon. I remember I ran the New York City half in March, did my bodybuilding competition in April, did not place well, but I mean, I looked pretty dang good, considering. Just felt like garbage. I would get so gassy and bloated by the end of the day. Who the heck knows where my fiber intake was? I probably was eating, I was straight up eating broccoli for every meal. It was just not realistic for the long term, but it was the first time that really allowed me to separate myself from the party scene, all the alcohol, and I'm so grateful for that aspect of it because that changed my life. Fully just embraced the bodybuilding era when I moved to San Diego and really just was focused more on strength, and still was doing a lot of cardio because I had to bike to 8 miles to work at my internship every day in San Diego. And at this time, you know, you're kind of just balling on a budget. I was still kind of in the clean eating mindset. And that's when I met Josh, though. So I met Josh while we were in San Diego. Still did the whole bodybuilding thing for a while. He was doing the bodybuilding thing. We kind of just did that for a bit. I think this is when I really started following an actual program though. So that was a good thing. So still kind of doing the same thing that I was doing with prepping for a bikini competition, still had that mindset, but I was just not feeling good. So again, we would eat super clean during the week, and then we would go out for date night on the weekends and have these like epic cheat meals where we would stuff our faces with like these huge burgers. San Diego is known for amazing food and restaurants, so it's like we would go out and just get all of these crazy things and then get dessert and ice cream afterwards. And I remember I would come back to our apartment and just lay flat on the bed because my stomach was like so bloated out to here. I was in pain, and it was just not a healthy relationship with food. It was not a healthy way to go about nutrition. We did not feel good. We both had digestive and gut issues going on. Josh was really sick at the time with his Barrett's esophagus stuff, which he shares all about on his channel. But it was just, on the outside, it was like the picture of health, but it actually wasn't. So then we stumbled upon Elaine Norton and Christy May Cagney, Donuts and Deadlifts, and the whole flexible dieting era. This was awesome. This was really when Instagram blew up with all the fitness stuff, and it was just really becoming a thing as far as flexible dieting, and you can eat donuts and ice cream and cookies and still hit your macros and still lose body fat. And it was super like flashy and exciting, but it was so new to so many people. In some ways, that era was so great because it taught us that the clean eating era did not need to be what it is. Like, you don't have to be super strict with the foods that you consume. You don't have to say, I cannot have this cookie, or I cannot have anything unless it's a cheat day. Like, it was not super restrictive, but it almost swung the pendulum to the other side where it was like, you can make these fancy concoctions of like pancakes with ice cream and candy on your breakfast and still eat them, and I don't know, it was just too extreme. We were focused on macros, but we were not focused on plants or fiber, really. So we then entered the flexible dieting era, and honestly, we saw really great progress. We started to feel better. It was a healthier relationship with food, so there was a lot of positives to it. We started powerlifting at this time, and this is really where I fell in love with being strong as heck and realized I was strong as heck and fueling my body optimally for my goals. That was the biggest pivot, I think, because again, it just really showed us that we could feel good and eat things and have this great relationship with food and feel really strong and follow a program and actually see amazing progress. I saw the most progress as far as getting toned and losing body fat and just getting jacked when I started powerlifting, because I was finally following a program and training at the right intensity. So if you go to the previous video, we talk about those two things. That was the big key here, on top of eating enough protein and calories. So my calories, I have pictures, old pictures where I show you I was eating like 1,200, 1,300 calories. And then as soon as I started unintentionally reverse dieting, eating more food, fueling my workouts, my physique completely changed in the best way. So I was finally seeing progress. I was getting strong. I was building muscle. So much fun. The early stages of powerlifting really just changed my love for the gym so much. And I realized I was kind of strong for being a tiny, compact girl. So I decided to start training for a powerlifting meet. So now we're in 2015, we're flexible dieting, we're training for a powerlifting meet. Life is freaking good. And I did a couple meets. So I did an RPS meet, and then I transitioned into the USAPL and actually got to the Raw Nationals level, where I competed at the national level and did pretty well. So that was really a time in my life where we really pushed forward with our business and started online coaching and started teaching other people about macros and nutrition and just how to see the results that you wanted to see without having to eat clean. Like, it was this huge life-changing revelation for ourselves and for so many people out there, because it was like, again, the end of the clean eating era. 2015 through 2017-ish, we continued this. We did flexible dieting for so long. I would say it wasn't as extreme as far as like building out these crazy meals and just seeing how much crap you could fit in your macros for that whole time. We slowly transitioned away from that. Got married, got our first little house. At this point, I had done my last powerlifting meet. I was kind of feeling burnt out from powerlifting because I did compete in a lower weight class for a lot of that, so I would have to cut down to make weight for my weight class, and then I would reverse diet back up. I did a full-blown bulk in that period, which was actually really beneficial. I gained 15 pounds, I think. I'll put some pictures here, and that kind of got me snapped out of the I always have to be dieting down for my weight class kind of thing. Dabbled in some Olympic lifting, so I was still doing powerlifting, dabbling with the Olympic lifts after I finished competing. Did my bulk, got super strong, like super strong, and I think I was overhead squatting over my body weight at that point, which overhead squatting over my body weight, like 140, I want to say. And I weighed like 130. So got super strong. And I just was feeling a little bit of burnt out from powerlifting. So did the Olympic lifting thing, and then kind of just transitioned into a phase where I was training for life. Still lifting, but did kind of a hybrid of powerlifting and bodybuilding. We'll call it power building. Got even more jacked in the gym to the point where the gym we were going to, I remember Josh overheard like these 3 kids. They were like, I don't know, probably high schoolers or maybe in college. They were talking amongst themselves if I was on steroids. So like that is the ultimate compliment when you're that jacked as a tiny 5'3" female and people think you're taking the juice. At that time, we were building our business, but at the same time, we were not parents yet. I would spend like 2 hours in the gym per day. And it was just, you know, it was our hobby. It was everything. Here comes the good part, because then we decided to get pregnant. So this is end of 2018 now. I get pregnant, and leading up to that getting pregnant era, I would say for like 6-ish months before we started trying to have our first baby, who ended up being Kai, I kind of just took volume down a little bit with training. I was kind of feeling in an era where we were really pushing forward with our business. I knew I was going to get pregnant soon, so I was really just adapting and doing the minimum as far as what I needed to do. I was still lifting, I was still strong, but just not to the extent where I was spending 2 hours per day in the gym, more so training for life. I probably have videos if you go back enough on the channel. Obviously continued training throughout my whole first pregnancy. This is when I took my pre and postnatal certification, so I was having all of that knowledge, but I would say didn't quite train to the high intensity that I am training, or that I trained at for my second. So still trained probably on average 4 days per week throughout my whole first pregnancy with Kai. Took the traditional 6 weeks off after my C-section, got back to lifting after that, and got freaking strong again postpartum, which was so relieving and also exciting, because like when you go through having a baby for the first time, you just don't know what's to come. But I knew that I had it in me still, and I knew that it was a lifestyle at this point. So I wrote myself some programs, followed a progressive overload based program, and that's really what turned into what is now our app programming. So we created we called it the Mindful Movement Collective first, MMC. I did that for a while, got super jacked and strong again, and basically did that throughout all of my postpartum journey with Kai until I got pregnant again with Cora. And this pregnancy with Cora, I trained much harder. I trained basically like normal. My intensity stayed high. I still lifted really heavy throughout pregnancy. Not that I didn't with Kai, but it was just way closer to my normal with Cora. It felt so good. I had my VBAC. I started implementing core work, walking, and mobility work right away postpartum, so like a few days, because that made me feel my best. I knew taking time off and just sinking into the couch or sinking into our bed or just tending to her was not going to keep me sane. I needed to start to prioritize movement again, so I created a whole postpartum forever program that is now within our app along with our pregnancy program, and I followed that all throughout early postpartum this time. And I think, you know, I maintained so much more muscle mass throughout my second pregnancy and just felt overall a lot better. And then that brings us to present day, where I'm still training hard, lifting heavy, doing all the things. So that is the full fitness journey in a nutshell, kind of condensed version. But as you guys can see, like I've gone through all of the phases. Even previous to where I started this story, I dabbled in the keto diet. I've dabbled in so many different things that seemed flashy and seemed like they would work until I fully understood nutrition and fully understood tracking and learning about the foods that I was putting into my body, rather than just blindly eating things because they fit a certain diet plan. And that's really what we teach our clients now. So our mission now has become helping people live healthier lifestyles, but also happier lifestyles, because we don't believe meeting your goals should be super restrictive. We don't believe that you should feel miserable or have terrible digestive issues or just feel constantly starving all day because you're eating 1,000 calories. That is not how we roll. We educate you on the process. We help you understand macros. We help you figure out how to track. And our goal with all of our clients is to get you to a place where you can just eat mindfully, eat with intention. We're not eating intuitively. We're eating with intention because we're using that knowledge that we've gained from tracking to sustain our progress and to eat intentionally and with purpose throughout the rest of our life, so that we can feel our best, so that we can play with our kids, play with our grandkids, and do all of the things that we want to do and live our life to the fullest. That's what this is all about. So if you're interested in coaching, the link is always in the description, but that is literally what we help you guys with now. But I just wanted to share my story because I think it's helpful to know we haven't always had it figured out. We all have had a starting place. We've been through the ups and downs of a journey, and ultimately you get to this place where you can thrive in all areas. You can meet your goals, you can get the body that you want, you can do all of the things that you want to do if all of these pieces of the puzzle are in place. I can guarantee you'll get there faster than I do if you have a professional guiding you. But I think there is such power in embracing our journey and figuring out what truly works for us. But I think that always is anchored in learning the basics, understanding why you're doing what you're doing, and being able to link that to wherever you're at right now, meeting yourself there, because it can feel really overwhelming. It can feel like there's a lot of pieces of the puzzle that you have to implement, but if you take those baby steps and if you implement them strategically, it will still feel good. It will still feel challenging, yet something that you can accept because it's doable. That's the video, that's the fitness journey. I hope it was helpful to kind of hear and see where I started from. And if you have any questions, I would love for you to drop them in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in next week's video.